if you're wanting to become a household name in your marketplace as a real estate investor, somebody that buys houses from motivated seller leads, and you get lots of referrals, people know who you are, no matter if it's your title company, attorneys, other realtors, other wholesalers, investors, buy and hold guys, whatever it is, then this is the episode that you're going to want to listen to. So my good friend Seth Hardy is on the show today. And in this episode, we do talk about quite a few things. One of the main categories that we talk about is he actually started up a meetup for the local investor community that in the market that he's in. The interesting thing about this is that he actually started it really early on in his real estate investing career. He had done a few deals, and it was one of those situations where he even talks about like he just kind of like wanted to give back and that sort of thing. But you know, there's a lot of people out there that they do one deal and then they start like they become an influencer and then they're coaching and that sort of thing. This wasn't really the path that Seth took, but he did start it off early on and it reaped benefits very early on. And one of the main objectives that he wanted to do was just to bring value to other investors in the community and connect people. But one of the main things that he talks about is he utilized it for himself because he wanted to make connections with people in his market. And that was the underlying factor. It was a selfish cause, but it was exactly what he needed to jolt into the real estate investing market in which he's operating. And so I'm like huge on the way that he did this. It was fantastic. He runs a really great meetup now in the Northwest Indiana market. And it's something that like we talk about here and there. There's a lot of people that you're going to hear on this show that actually have their own meetups. They've started their own meetup groups, their own networking events, stuff like that. And it's very purposeful. It's for themselves. It's obviously to bring value to the people in their market and that sort of thing. But the underlying factor, the root cause of it is to bring connections to themselves, to establish themselves as the authority in their marketplace, and deals just will come to them. Seth also talked about, we actually work with him on his social media content. And he also talked about, you know, one of the times he went to dinner with some family and some of the people that were there were like, Seth, now tell me, what do you do? So people that were even closest to him didn't even know what he did as a real estate investor. Buying houses from people is basically the sum of it, but they didn't even know what he did exactly. And so one of the objectives that he really wanted to do and make sure that he got across to everybody that he came across was making sure that they know what he did. He buys houses. That's brought some deals to him. That's brought quite a few referrals and that sort of thing. And that's really what it does. The more people that know about what you do, contextually are going to be bringing you deals. It's going to bring you opportunities, maybe not just deals themselves and leads themselves, but also maybe money or maybe a really good attorney or a really good title company that maybe you were on the lookout for, or even just a team member, somebody that can like close deals for you, somebody that's going to be an A+ player. You never know what opportunities it's going to bring if people just know what you do and who you are. So that's what we talk about in this episode. It's going to be a really, really good one. Seth's a very close personal friend of mine. We actually grew up together in the younger years and played basketball and that sort of thing, but he's got a lot of value to bring and has really grown very, very quickly and become one of the biggest real estate investors in the Northwest Indiana market. So you guys are going to enjoy this. You're going to get a lot out of it. So go ahead and chime in, take some notes, and let's get it going. Welcome back to the REI Marketing Weekly. It's your host, Josh Culler, and today I have my very good friend, longtime friend, Seth Hardy out of Northwest Indiana on the interview today. Seth, how you doing, man? It's good to have you.
Good, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Seth is somebody that's like, he's a big action taker just for as long as I've known him. And we went to high school together. He actually graduated with my wife as well. And just as long as I've known him, played sports with him and that sort of thing, he's just a huge action taker. So and obviously, like early on in your real estate career, you and I got to sit down at the Outback Steakhouse and talk a little bit about what you're planning on doing with you and Mike and everything. And that was a lot of fun. And just seeing how far you've come since then has like blown my mind. And it's just proven the fact that you and the rest of your team are just big action takers. And I think that's a really big piece of marketing that we talk about a lot, guys, on this podcast with anybody that we've had on the podcast is just taking action. A lot of times is just doing it, measuring the results, making adjustments from there, and continuing on. So one of the things that Seth does, and he mentioned it's somewhere around like 40% of their deal flow that they have, is referral marketing. So obviously, guys, we talk a lot about marketing, a lot of different things in marketing. However, we've only had one or two guests in the past that really talked about referral base marketing and, not necessarily like they have a whole game plan, a whole strategy built around referrals, but they just get referrals. That's a big part of marketing that a lot of people don't think of because it's a direct impact of your brand. It's a direct impact of the experience that people have with you and that sort of thing. So Seth, I'm going to shut up now, but I really want you to talk about what it is that you do from a referral-based standpoint that you and I were talking about briefly. Like, what does that look like for you guys? Do you have a process for it? Is it something that you guys just actively invest in, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I want to clarify, it's 40% of the profit roughly is coming from referrals.
Even better.
It's probably a lower percentage of actual deal flow, but they're bigger profit.
Yeah, that's huge.
But yeah, there's a couple things that we do. I think the very first thing that we started off doing is just by trying to have a reputable name in our local area. And so one of the things we did is we started to educate our local area on real estate investing. So you hear it all the time, but the person that educates the market owns the market. And so we started out just educating the market, not really with any, ulterior motive, but we just started holding meetups to try to help other people understand how to invest in real estate, get their first few deals, and start to build financial freedom on their own terms, on their own timeline. And we held our first meetup, I think it was back in 21 now, which is a while ago. But we got a couple of bigger real estate agents in the area that run bigger teams. We got a couple of bigger investors that own a couple hundred doors. We got a couple of bigger flippers to talk at that event, and we just had them all blasted on their social media and brand my company, Dynasty Real Estate, as hosting it. And so we put our faces on that as well as our brand on that. And these other guys just kind of blasted it out, and just, wasn't really any dollar amount charged to let people in. It was just a free event to provide value to the community. It's funny, we held it at a hotel ballroom, a very small hotel ballroom at that. And the guys that we had there were probably more reputable than us at the time, which helped bring some exposure. But sure, they attracted a pretty decent audience. So in that smaller room that we were in, I mean, we had over 100 people in that room.
Wow.
And it was a really good showing. So the next one we did was probably 2 or 3 months later, and we got an actual event venue. Did the same thing, had a bunch of people that were very reputable in the real estate industry, had decent social media followings. And we kind of advertised it as they're talking about how they started their real estate journeys and where they're at now. I mean, the guys are slinging real estate left and right. People know of their faces and know the names. So obviously that garners attention. And, we had, I think, over 200 people at the next event.
Wow.
Agents.
So 2 or 3 months later, you doubled the attendance?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it's fun. The venue's pretty sweet too, but it houses, 1,500 people. So we knew we weren't going to be cramped. It was a nice little event that spread out.
Yeah.
Little tables. It was good for networking. So we paid for open bar for the first, 80 people. Or we set a tab. I remember I wasn't in charge of the budget for all of that stuff, but open bar, we gave tickets out for the first people that were there. We kind of advertised that, as well as the networking and the high net worth individuals that were going to be there. And it just kind of blew up a little bit. So that, I feel, from a branding standpoint, kind of put us on the map.
Yeah.
And now we hold those quarterly. And so we try to skip the summer because everybody likes to be outside when it's sunny out and it's warm. But typically we'll run one right after the new year. We'll probably hit one in March, and then right before it starts to get really nice out, so like May, ballpark. And then we'll start it up again in about late September, early October, and then probably one more to finish. But
yeah. So Question on this. So I want to make sure that like I'm kind of dissecting what you're going after, because I think that a really, like, especially an experienced investor, it's good for them to open some sort of like a meetup group, and they're reputable. Maybe they have a lot of relationships with contractors in the area, stuff like that, and they can hold a group and really harness and build a network that way. But for somebody like you were kind of like just getting going when you hosted that first event. And then obviously like doubling the attendance a couple months later is a huge, like that's insane. That's a huge accomplishment. What was like, were you guys actively trying to build relationships with other people in that group to get them to bring you deals as, say, bird dogs or whatever you want to, however you want to leverage them calling you? Or was it just like, I'm hosting this event because maybe I was told to, or I felt like it was a good thing to do? Like, what was the intentionality behind that?
So, I mean, I as naive and maybe stupid as it sounds, I don't know, but I was really just trying to do a good thing in the real estate community. Yeah, a lot of really big investors that bigger than us at the time in our area, and nobody was holding meetup. Nobody was educated in the area, and so I was like, dude, I don't know a whole lot. But what I do know is that we're doing deals. We know people that are pretty well off in the real estate space, or are selling a ton of real estate, and I said we can bring those people to our audience and hopefully bring value that way. The only thing I was really trying to get out of it was to let people know that we actually do real estate.
Yeah, for sure.
At the time, like that was like a year and a half into our journey. And so at the time, I just wanted to let people know that we bought and sold houses at any capacity. And if people had a deal, that I wanted them to think of us because we were trying to provide so much value that, they called is basically it.
For sure.
Yeah, it's really the only thing that we were trying to do. And then I guess by putting all that together, we had real estate agents that do a bunch of off-market stuff. There's a real estate attorneys, probate attorneys, contractors, and basically we just kept track of who was there. And, we started to do direct outreach to those people just to, see if they, had done a deal since the first time that they came to an event, but also to see if they had any want for a deal or any deals that were kind of circling, and seeing if we could get our hands on those or help that.
Yeah, for sure. I think sometimes, and this is 101, like just business 101. It's really bonehead, but sometimes like we try to do these like crazy tactics in marketing, and then we think that like all the latest gadget, like how can AI help me with marketing, and like what's the best way to get like the best script for your cold callers and stuff like that, and all that's great, but sometimes just doing the fundamentally sound things inside of not just marketing but your business as a whole is normally the best way to grow it. And what's funny about marketing is a lot of times we spend so much effort on trying to like pitch this thing that we can do for you as a potential customer that we just kind of like overlook the possibility of just telling people what we do. So you literally said like we just wanted people to know that we buy and sell real estate.
Yeah,
that's pretty simple. Like that thing, dude. But everybody overlooks that. I was on a call with one of my good friends, and most people that are listening to this probably know who this is Matt Andrews. And I was on a call with him earlier this afternoon, and we were talking about some things, and we were talking about marketing, and he's got a big mastermind called the Family Mastermind. And he was talking about like, like he was giving an example. This one dude, like he's grown so much just like, cause he just tells everybody what he does. And that's all I talked to him, and that's the only marketing he does. He just posts about like, hey, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. And he just does that consistently and frequently. And that's how he's been able to grow his business substantially. And I think a lot of people overlook that. So like for you, the power of that has been absolutely like a big game changer. But do you think that hosting these events now, how it's been 2-3 years, somewhere in that time range that you've been doing this now?
3 years.
3 years. So do you think that has equated to dollars in your pocket in ways like, does this circle back around to the referrals and people actually bringing you deals?
Yeah, I'd say so. Unintentionally, obviously, but it's
in a roundabout way sometimes.
Yeah, it's beneficial in the sense that now people know we buy and sell real estate. It's just funny you said that. It's a very simple thing, but like people just don't do it. And I think a little bit of it is you're initially probably afraid to put yourself out there.
Sure.
Which we were. I mean, only wholesaling real estate had only flipped one house at that time. So like I wasn't coming to the masses saying I am the professional in the area. Just trying to bring value to people and put people in a room with others that could be considered professionals at the time. Now things are a little bit different, but yeah, all you got to do is kind of put yourself out there. Whether you're qualified or not, you may be more qualified than the person that's listening, and those people hear what you have to say and the help you're trying to provide, and they tell somebody about it or they talk about it. I think the second thing, to dive into it a little bit deeper, I was sitting at this is right before I started with you, actually, not to plug you on your own podcast, but we're going to do that.
I appreciate it.
So it's right before I started with you, and I was at a family reunion in Ohio, and my family, like, they're asking my brother Ian, like, "Hey man, how's physical therapy going? I see that you're starting to post now. You're getting ready to graduate. Excited. You know, he's just getting started with his business. He started an LLC. Like, yeah, they knew all about it just because he was posting about it.
Yeah, I was just saying, I see him everywhere too.
Yeah. So he hadn't even graduated yet. So they asked me, they're like, "Seth, I know you do real estate, but like, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Dude, I've been doing this for like 3 going on 4 years at this point, and like nobody in my family understands what it is that I do." And so I called you and I was like, "Dude, I was at a family reunion. Nobody knows what I do, and I feel like that's a terrible thing. Like people in my sphere know what I do, but my family doesn't even know what I do." So, I guess same thing. You start telling people what you do, or just making it known that you're at houses, you're flipping houses, you're wholesaling houses, or buying rentals, and so started posting on social media same way. And there's been kind of revenue tied to that, just by people reaching out and saying, "Hey, I see that you do this. You know, would you be interested in buying my uncle's house or buying my friend's house? He's going to work out, or he inherited this." And you know, go out there, take a look at it, and that works. But also even in hiring, like people see that we're out in a young, active group that's working really hard to grow our business. And we have sales reps reaching out like, "Hey, dude, you need somebody? I can get behind what you guys are doing." So, honestly, man, just if you're gonna take action, do it to a level that like you can start to tie. Try to figure out what I'm trying to say, but do it to a level that you can tie revenue to, way to ensure that everybody knows what you're doing. If they hear it too much, then they can just scroll past it. But if somebody knows what you do, they're going to hear about it and then probably reach out to you because they can relate to you. You're putting everything out.
Interrupting this podcast episode to tell you guys that this podcast is managed and produced by Color Media Productions. Yes, shameless plug, that's my company. However, we do this for a lot of other people as well. Most people that we work with are in the real estate investing space. So if you're listening to this podcast specifically, you probably are a real estate investor, given it's called the REI Marketing Weekly. If you're somebody that either wants to start a podcast or you have one going and it's becoming a little bit of a hassle, you're looking to transition to somebody that works a little bit better with a fluid motion in terms of you get the recordings done and then they do everything else. Well, that's what we do. We do fully managed podcasts from start to finish, video, audio, show noting, the graphics, publishing, everything that goes into it. It's a full service business that we run here in a service for you as a real estate investor if you are running a podcast. Additionally, we also do social media and YouTube management as well. So all of that being on the organic side, if you are interested in learning more about working with us and just recording content with guidance and strategy set by myself personally, and then not doing anything else after that, where we're taking care of everything from start to finish, then make sure you go check us out at colormedia.com, CULLER media.com. Hit us up there and we can learn more about working together, hop on a phone call and see what we could do for you. Now back to the episode. Yeah, for sure. One thing that you do that I think is probably works like excellently for you. Obviously, like if you're listening right now and you are a real estate investor, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on a previous podcast. I know I talk about this frequently when I'm on stages and on other people's podcasts, but maybe you're listening, you're a wholesaler, you fix and flip, you buy rentals, whatever it is. You're doing marketing to generate motivated seller leads. You're not doing marketing to build a coaching program or anything like that. Like Seth may have a meetup, but he doesn't necessarily have like a coaching program yet or any kind of like a education, program at all that somebody can buy from him to learn from him, that sort of thing. And the natural thing is to think like, if I'm putting social media out, now I'm going to become an influencer. I'm going to be like, generating followers, show people what I do, that sort of thing. Like, it's all about the scope that you look into. It's how am I leveraging the social media to generate results? I have a client right now that I'm working with that we've really onboarded recently, and he's just having a hard time kind of thinking about it from a standpoint of like, and he literally has the same business model that Seth has, but he's having a hard time because he just can't get out of the mindset of like, I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. And I'm like, dude, we're not trying to make you that. We're trying to market your business. And that's essentially what it comes down to. So one of the things I was going to point out that I think you do excellently in all that kind of wrapped up into context is that you don't necessarily just tell people what you do now, you show them. And all the walkthrough videos that you do and that sort of thing, like that's an excellent form of showing people what it is that you do so that, you're kind of delivering. It's a little bit of a valuetainment like kind of situation too, because people love, for whatever reason, even if they're not interested in working with you, they still love the entertainment aspect of you walking through a house and pointing out what you're going to do to the project and that sort of thing. But that's a really great way to do that. And obviously, as you're carrying yourself and you're speaking and that sort of thing, it is a great recruitment marketing tool as well. Like you said, you get people that call you and that sort of thing. And sometimes you can land a unicorn, somebody that is just excellent in a sales role, or they're going to be a great fit for a TC or something like that. And they found you on a video and they're like, I really like the way that you present yourself. You sound like you really know what you're doing. You have a great business. Like, I would love to work with you. And maybe you find a rock star at that point. And that, like, I could go on and on with examples about how that actually has happened for people that I personally know or work with. So that's, fantastic. I mean, like, so in terms of like social, obviously, like we do manage your social media, but from you, like when you're out filming content, I think this is a really good kind of way to kind of segue into this conversation. But when you're out filming content, what are you typically trying to accomplish? Like you're walking through, doing these walkthrough videos, like what type of things you talking about? Obviously, you guys can follow Seth. We'll have all that linked down in the description below. But Seth, you explain it in your mouth. What's the context? What are you trying to accomplish while you're out there filming?
Yeah, so I do want to back up before I answer that question, but kind of like to what your client was saying, I had the same thought process. About like, I didn't want to be an influencer. I don't have a course to sell. I'm not trying to monetize this in any way. I just want people to know we invest in real estate. So I'm out of properties every day. My partners are out of properties every day. And I don't want to push a narrative that I'm trying to build up and get ready to sell. I think that'd be cool. I have a heart to educate people, but I don't want to sell a course. And I just want people to know that I'm affiliated, one of the owners of Dynasty Real Estate, and we buy and sell houses. We invest in real estate, and that's it. And to your question now, really there's not a huge agenda other than just trying to provide value in the knowledge that I have that most people don't when you're investing in real estate. And so some of it is a little bit educational. It maybe somebody would take it as, oh, I'm trying to educate and plug a course. However, it's also valuable to somebody who's just getting started in real estate. There's a couple of videos that you guys chopped up where I was at a house in Gary, and I was running numbers on this. It's a 2,500 square foot house. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to finish the basement because if you add another even 900 square feet, it doesn't do anything to comparables. But if you add a bedroom, and you make it from a 3.2 to a 4.2, it adds like $60K to your property value. So 900 square feet doesn't do it, but if you add a bedroom somewhere in the house, you know, you're going to add $60K in value to what you have currently. And so just kind of sharing that, because a lot of people don't know, like people don't understand, how do you force value out of a house? Yes, you make it nicer, but you buy a house for $100,000. How do you make it worth $300,000 when you're done? Like a lot of people understand that. And so just kind of sharing the general knowledge that I may have that other people don't in real estate, I think is one thing when we're walking through houses. How do you break down a deal? How do you add value? What do the numbers look like? So that's one part of it. But then the other part is just, I'll sit down and just talk with my business partners. We'll talk real estate. We'll talk investing strategies, how to raise capital, kind of the things that we go through on a day-to-day basis, struggles that we have, wins that we have. Just trying to be as authentic as possible, because not everything's a win. And I'll have a couple videos coming up for you guys on walkthroughs of ways that we messed up on a couple flips that we have, which is just going to be good stuff for people to understand and learn. But really just, you know, I feel like by educating people on my lessons of learning and growth, just tells people more about what we do. So
yeah, for sure.
It's very simple. The agenda is just to let people know what you do. If you're selling something, then it changes. But I mean, you kept it simple for me. It's just let people know what you do. There doesn't have to be anything complicated about it. Just film your life at work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you keep talking about like, I want to deliver value, I want to deliver value. And we always overlook the statement of like, the statement goes that currency follows value. And this is why like social media, podcasts, YouTube content, that kind of stuff, books, whatever it is that you have to deliver as value, currency will always follow that. And as long as you stay consistent with delivering the value, there's always going to be some kind of residual opportunity or revenue stream that will come from that. It's like, again, the way that you frame up the content that you're putting out is very much driven on delivering value to somebody that's watching. And ultimately what that does at the end of the day, it really establishes you as the authority in your marketplace. I know just probably, I would say like me personally, I probably know about 75 to 80%. Like I personally know the real estate investors, the ones that are doing at least 10 deals a year in this market. And it's a very easy market to like kind of crack into, because we're right next to Chicago. We're in Indiana, but right next to Chicago. So it's just a great market to invest in. Rentals work well, flips work well, wholesaling works well. It's just like, it's one of those very like unicorn markets that like, you're not going to have like $100,000 wholesale rips every single time, but it's going to be a consistent flowing market. So I'm not going to say it's easy to do deals here, but it's easier to do deals here than almost like anywhere else across the country. But because of that, for you, you've established authority by putting this content out, by starting this meetup and that sort of thing. And authority puts so much weight and boldness into a brand where now you've told so many people what you do, but then you deliver value off the backside of that. Like, you're undefeatable. It's going to be really easy for you guys to develop that type of relationship with the people in this market. As long as you obviously consistently keep on top of that, then it's going to be like, maybe at some point you guys don't have to cold call or do mail drops or anything like that, because you're getting the type of deals that you're wanting volume wise based off of just having the authority in the marketplace. And sometimes that's where people want to get, like, they just want to develop a really good brand where they don't have to do the spending time on marketing. It's just like, I'll spend money on marketing where I can run TV ads or mail drops or whatever, but I don't want to cold call, I don't want to text blast, that sort of thing. And all that's going away too anyway. So it's like, we got to go in the direction of developing brand, which is what you have put a lot of investment into, which is, it already is proving itself, but it will prove itself even more as you get down the road in developing your business. So have you seen any power of that, like specifically, even in the I know it's not been a short time, but even in the short, like from the grand scheme of things, like it's been a short time. Have you seen a lot of power in that?
Yeah. Obviously there's a couple of guys that are very active on social media and personal branding, locally, as far as just being active. They're not having people shoot content, but they're very active about posting personally about what they're doing. So there's a couple guys that are doing really well with that. But I think just from a perspective of shooting a video and having people see what you do and hear how the deals are analyzed, kind of gets them thinking, gets the wheels turning a little bit, because it's more than just a written blurb on Facebook with a photo attached to it.
Yeah.
It's, they're getting an inside look on what your day-to-day life is like. So yeah, I would say there is. Also, somebody looks us up, they're going to see videos of me and my team talking about what we do, the property walkthroughs, stories about being able to help others. They're going to see the reviews on Google and just on our webpage, as well as on Instagram, different stuff like that. So yeah, there definitely is. There's so much content going out at this point. And I say so much. Right now it's a video a day, but like there's so much being shot of our day to day that they can quickly correlate that to Google, Facebook, Instagram, my personal pages as well. And they say, okay, Dynasty Real Estate's legit. They have all the reviews. They post everything they do on social media. They post how they're helping people, and there's power in that. So for sure,
yeah, absolutely. Well, Seth, we are running out of time, so we're gonna have to wrap this up. But this has been extremely powerful. I think, like, just once again, I'll go back to one of the first things I said on this podcast is everything that Seth has talked about. He just talked about like taking action on it. And a lot of times that's the first step that we miss as business owners, is like we just don't take action on something. We know something's the right thing to do, but then it takes the, visiting family at a family reunion and somebody saying like, what do you do? And to actually like get the gears going, and then we actually start up. But the important thing is to just start up in the first place. Now, obviously, like there's time and place to create plans and strategies for everything you're doing in your marketing, but that's part of it. That's part of the taking action. So make sure that you continue to do that. But Seth, thanks so much for spending the time with us. What if somebody was interested, let's say they're in Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland area, and they wanted to connect with you, maybe, come to the meetup, every quarter or whatever. What's the best place for them to connect with you, and get in contact with you?
Socials are good. Facebook and Instagram are good for me. Please don't email, because I probably won't see it. I'm on the phone all day long, but I'm not email inbox. Facebook, Instagram, more than willing to share my number through those, and we can have a conversation. But we talked about a lot of stuff as far as, bigger picture. If somebody wants to get really granular and try to implement this in their business, we can talk smaller details about how we implemented it. And it's not perfect, but I think it's a good stepping stone. And it's basically it. So that helps somebody.
Yeah, we appreciate that for sure, guys. We'll have all of that linked down in the description below, so you can make sure you check that out. Make sure you do connect with Seth. Great guy, very up and coming, and he's made a huge establishment inside of the marketplace that I actually live in as well. But he's done a lot of really good stuff here. So Seth, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing everything that you have, and I look forward to having you back again soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Looking forward to it.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining in and listening. If you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the show. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify listening, please do me a huge favor and go and leave a review right now if this did deliver value. Leave your feedback, like your honest feedback, because that just helps us get better on the podcast, regardless of what it is. So thank you so much in the first place for stopping by. And I think that's going to do it. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.